Hello there! My name is Max, also known as M. Kieran, and today we're gonna have a bit of a special video. See, you can tell, it's gonna be a serious video because I'm speaking in a different tone of voice. Still gonna have a slowpoke on my shoulder though, because I need it. Today we're gonna talk about how do you know if you are not meant to be a writer? This is a subject that I get, a question that arrives at my mailbox every little once in a while. And this video should be going up on the last week of November. And it's a familiar scenario. I've been there. You've probably been there. November is National Novel Writing Month. NaNoWriMo. And it's a month in which a lot of people who have never tried writing attempt to complete the challenge of writing 50,000 words in 30 days, averaging to about 1,666.6 repeating words every single day. That is no small task. It's actually pretty rough, and anyone who's completed it can tell you that they probably failed several times. I failed twice. I didn't complete the 50k words the first two years that I attempted it. And I would be lying to you if somewhere along the line I didn't feel that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't meant to be a writer. And thoughts like that arrive at very specific moments. Fear and doubt coalesce into this substance, this thing that makes us question everything we've been doing up until this point. Everything we've been working towards. And that particular phrasing sticks out. Maybe I'm not meant to be a writer. Maybe it's just not in the cards for me. Maybe it's not meant to happen. Maybe I'm not destined to be that. And today we're going to talk about doubt, fear, and what exactly does it really mean to be destined to do something. We're going to touch on character, the implications of real life and plot, and my own personal experience with this fear. So let's dive right in. Before I go on anywhere, I want to let you know, as always, that the following is just my experience, my writing advice, what I know, what I felt. Don't take it as gospel, take it as my experience, one point of view. And my goal today is to maybe hopefully make you question these feelings and hopefully inspire you to keep moving forward. So when did I first feel that thought? When did that idea first spring to my mind? Maybe I'm not meant to be a writer. For me, my story is a little bit silly because I didn't grow up thinking that I could be a writer. It wasn't actually until I was in college when I was taking an English class and the professor told me that he really liked my writing, and he told me, have you ever considered doing prose, writing fiction? And I remember sitting on that desk and thinking to myself, I didn't know that was an option. I didn't know I could do that. Can I do that? And you may be thinking, that's silly, Max. Well, I'm an immigrant. I moved to the US when I was 13 years old. So there's been a lot of things that I feel I'm not allowed to do. And things that I know I can't do. So the idea that I, who grew up not speaking an ounce of English until they were like 14, someone who, it may seem weird now when you're listening to me speak, but I could not confidently speak English until, what was it, my sophomore year in high school? Junior year? I dreaded reading out loud. I hated it. Because it was embarrassing. Mostly because the phonetics in English make no sense. It took me 10 years until someone pointed out that I pronounced the word chef wrong. Because I had the audacity to think that the CH sound we would pronounce like a CH sound. So I pronounced it chef. Now, apparently, it's chef. Mostly because French also doesn't make any sense. But that's besides the point. So I started out not knowing that I could be a writer. And I took courses, and I started developing the joy to write. Writing stories. It was hard, of course. I vividly remember sitting down to write at home and actually sweating, bullets of sweat on my forehead as I was finishing the one page I was writing every night. Because it was hard. Because I'd never done that. I had never done description. Describing what a place looks like so the reader knows what it looks like, so they can themselves imagine it in their own mind. That was hard. I'd never done that. I had no experience. I didn't know what to describe and what not to describe. And then that's before you start dealing with characters and the beautiful, chaotic mess that they are. It was crazy. And as I took more classes and I met people who were also interested in writing, I found things like NaNoWriMo, and I attempted it, and I failed it, and I lied about failing it, because even back then, a part of me was afraid that maybe I wasn't meant for this whole thing. I can't tell my friends that I failed NaNoWriMo. But I did. I just say it now, almost as a way to amend for those times that I just lied about it. I failed the first 2 years. But there was a bit of an arc there. Because there was a point during those years of taking classes, of getting involved, of telling stories, that I found the fear and the doubt coalesced. Because there was a good period of about a year where I could not finish anything. I couldn't finish stories. Short stories didn't go anywhere. I would start a novel, write the first couple chapters, stop. I would grow comfortable within the space of what the class required of me. Our creative course required us to write 2,500 words every week and turn them in. And I would do that. I would get that done in a night, in 2 nights, and then I would just not write at all. And I grew comfortable, and I grew lazy. And then I became self-conscious of these things. And the fear and the doubt. And then really, really bad thoughts came. Can I finish a novel? Can I do that? I've never done it, so how can I know that I can? You see, I have anxiety. And I'm a Pisces too. And I've been told that sign is very, very likely to apocalyptic thinking. And you can bet money that I could see the apocalypse around the corner. If I keep pursuing this career that I am not meant for, keep an eye on that wording, meant for, the world could end. Everything would be over. And I'm saying it right now kind of facetiously, but I believed it back then. Because I was terrified. Because I wanted to write books. But I didn't know if I was wasting my time. The climax of my origin story happened. And now, as I look back on it, it really does look like a story. But at the time, it didn't feel like that. In retrospect, we look at history like that. But it doesn't happen like that. I hit the rawest bottom. And a realization struck me. Something so terrifying that the fear and doubt that I was failing, that I was a failure, that I was an imposter, that this person who did presentations during the writing class, who had taken it several times, who was kind of like the beacon/leader character for this group of writers, was a lie. That was terrifying. That I was living a lie. That I was someone I really wasn't. But then something else, even more scary than that, struck me. As I was nearing the end of that year and I felt that nothing was going my way and that really I was kind of wasting time. And that realization was that unless I actually wrote those books, unless I actually sat down and stopped being lazy and stopped focusing on these fears, unless I put all that aside and did the writing, my dreams, my hopes, everything I've ever wanted, the dream of being a writer, it would never happen. And I'm not saying it in a sort of like, you were close, but you didn't do it. No. It cannot happen. Because life doesn't change on its own. The world doesn't change on its own. History doesn't change on its own. People make things happen by doing things. In retrospect, this is a lot like history and the perceived notion of writing. People look at history and see it as a plot line. See, then this happened, then this happened. And it gives you the illusion that history kind of happened because of some sort of invisible force. You may even call it destiny. It happened because it was meant to happen that way. And since that's the way it unfolded, there was no other way things could have happened. And thus, this is what we got. The only thing that we could have gotten. The realest thing we could have gotten. Some people look at stories like that. They look at it as plot. The order in which the events are supposed to happen, as devised by the outline. And if you've been following this channel, you know I don't think like that. You know I don't write like that. I had the honor of having one of the greatest, most amazingness writing professors ever, and she told me what I've now coined as the Marcy rule, that a character doesn't come from plot. Characters don't change because of the story. Plot comes as a byproduct of characters taking action, making choices, and facing the consequences of both. History changes. The world changes. People change. Because of characters, costs change. It's very easy to look back at history and think, yeah, this happened because of this, but we overlook the people, the characters, the people who took action, who got up and said, I'm going to do that, and they did it. And as I was at that lowest of points, and I realized the thing I want, these stories, these books, these characters, to whom I've promised stories, these ideas that come to me, the joy of writing that I actually really do enjoy. These things are never going to happen. They objectively will not happen unless I make them happen. No one is ever going to show up at my doorstep and tell me, Max, here is, in this briefcase is your dream, and you get to have it now. No one's going to do that. Because life doesn't happen like that. Because the world doesn't work like that. Because unless you change, and you make change happen, things will remain as they are. And I feel like this is a very good year for looking at stuff like that. Unless you change, the world around you won't change. And that struck me. And when I realized that, I realized that if I just work hard, and if I keep at it, and if I just keep doing it, it will become real. Because I am making it real. There is no such thing as being meant to be a writer. There's no such thing as destiny. There's just people making things happen. You don't have to be meant to be a writer. Just ask yourself right now. If you knew an invisible force was aiding you, was making sure that you got your dream to become a reality, would you work more hard or would you work less hard? Because you know there's an invisible force helping you. Honestly, I don't care for either. And the idea of not being meant to be a writer is one way that this fear and doubt manifests in. There's countless other arguments, thoughts that come to our mind. Maybe I'm not skilled enough, maybe I'm too young, maybe it's because I've always failed, so why wouldn't I fail again? Or 1,000 other things that have nothing to do with the writing. Because you can write. Because if this is what you want, make it happen. Make it the thing you want. I've said this before, and I'll say it one more time. I don't have an ounce of talent in me. I don't think so. I just love telling stories. And I've realized over the years, over watching people who claim to have talent go nowhere, after watching people who believed all their lives they had nothing and achieved success, that I think skill, experience, the age, where you came from, who you are, it matters not on whether you can create the art you like. The only thing that ever gets anything done, really, the only thing that ever gets anything done is reckless determination. Determination to go when you feel doubt and fear. Determination to go when you think at the bottom of the night you feel that it is futile. Determination to keep going and to not stop. That right there is how change happens. It's not magic. It's almost tangible fact. Reckless determination is what creates novels. Is what makes the world change. And it's how I pushed through my first novel. How I pushed through a year of a lot of heartbreak and a lot of stress. And have returned now to the place I truly belong, and the place where I feel the happiest. Reckless determination. Hey there. Serious video today, but I hope that I've been able to help you, give you another point of view, especially if you're struggling, especially if you went the entire month feeling as though you were tripping. You think you're getting better, but something happens, life comes up. Finals, Thanksgiving happens, and you think you're walking, and every time you take a step you trip, or you take a step back and a step forward, and it feels like you are never ever gaining any ground. But you are. Of course you are. Every word you wrote, every page you wrote, every time you put pen to paper, you created something that wouldn't have been there otherwise. And that right there is how you get started. There's no other way it's gonna happen. Unless you do it, it will not be there. It will not exist. You will not move forward. Is it terrifying? Of course it is. I think it's more scary than that fantasy of whether you are meant to be something or not. The cold, harsh, raw realization that unless you put words on the page, you will never tell that story. You will never finish it. You will never edit it. You will never publish it. And yet, the inverse of that, I think, is the most inspiring thing. To realize that all you gotta do, all writers have ever done, is put words on the page one by one, hopefully in the correct order, and not stop until the story's finished. And that right there is the seemingly magical process of how stories are made. And yet, there's no magic behind it. It's almost fact. You work on it, and it will happen. You make it, it will exist. Like all journeys, like building bridges, like telling stories. One step at a time, one brick at a time, one word at a time. As long as you keep at it, you'll get there. Hey there. Serious video. Really serious video with double the outros. I hope this helped. It's been a rough year, but it's wrapping up. I want to believe things are getting better. People are making change happen, and that's a delight. Thank you for tagging along. The name, again, is Max, also known as MKaren. I take questions from the comments down below, as ideas for topics. If you have an idea, or a question you would like me to answer, I can do you a favor and answer it in the comments down below. Also, I have a Twitter, where I post inspiration, and I also let you know about what I'm working on. It's just another way to experience the life of Max. And of course, I have a Patreon. It's a small little way where viewers like you can make sure that I can continue making what you love. And for $1 a month, you can watch my videos a week in advance. It's just a little something I give to my patrons. But now, this video has been long enough. This pep talk has been long enough. I wanna, again, thank you for tagging along. Thank you for spending a little bit of your day with me. And I hope that you keep moving forward and that you go out there and change the world.